Hello, guys. My name is Felicity, and I'll be presenting for professional development as a researcher. And I'll be presenting the topic navigating the new normal, that is transformation in the COVID era. So there was a little music to add on, and then now just quickly now need to start my presentation. Okay, this is my group, and this is my clever team, and this will be the rubric that used for marking, and this is the table of contents, the introduction, the problem statement, and the research question, the aim, the objectives, the methodology, results and discussion, conclusion, references, and reflective journal. Now, as we got into COVID-19, we found the lecture rooms empty, no one, we were all locked down abruptly, something we've never seen before. Research had to be done at home, studying everything, businesses closed, buildings turned into the huge elephants that could not be used anymore. Now, researchers, educators, students alike, academics, in higher education system globally, they had to now adapt to the new normal due to the COVID-19. Classes had to transition to online platform, requiring changes in the project design and schedules. Those who had scheduled that were planned, they had to reschedule, start all over. And then now we had to start to use the technologies for teaching and learning, not only for teaching and learning, but for also conducting research in higher education, not only in education, even in industry. Things had to go now to the new normal. Instead of meeting, online learning became our primary teaching method. Now we could only meet online. If you want to talk to someone, go online, open your Skype, open Teams, open Blackboard, collaborate, use Zoom meetings to meet with others. There are many other online platforms that started opening. Even Gmail started opening the new avenue of being able to meet online. Skype and others were really being available, and the use of MS Teams was not so popular, but everyone started using such platforms. But however, the challenges arose in that era because of inequalities of our society, which were formed by the past decade of colonization. There are still imbalances. Some students were sitting remotely in Mpumalanga, remotely in maybe in the mountains in Lesotho. They couldn't access resources. Even the institution had to find means. With this disruption, the government had to intervene, start buying laptops, start buying, getting data, free platforms, looking into new platforms that are free. Like Blackboard, it was said to be free, though when you tried to use it for free, it still needed some data. Somehow it was not really working out. So students really struggled with the resources we had, but everyone had to use anything and everything, whether it's WhatsApp, whether it's YouTube, whether it's anything that you could use, or record some videos ahead and send to students. And students started listening to videos. That was something that they were not used to. Though Blackboard Collaborate was still there at the universities, both students and lecturers are like, some of them never even started to use it, especially Blackboard Collaborate. It was something that was never really used by most staff. They had to now start to teach themselves. So it was a real emergency remote teaching and learning, as it's been called, because everyone has to now start to work remotely. Now, in our research, the aim of this research is to really explore the pandemic impact on the academic activities, but no, and also this study will aim to provide some guidelines for transforming teaching, learning, and research in higher education. Though we've also noticed, as our research question says, um, we are aiming to check what are the key transformation and the adaptation that were implemented in higher education during the COVID-19. And we also want to know, how did higher education institution adapt to the challenges posed by the COVID-19 pandemic, and what is the impact thereof on the mental and professional well-being of our doctoral student? Well, we have varied students, but I don't know. We had to just say, how about the doctors? How did this impact them? And then, um, this is the statement, the big statement. Now, our literature went to explore into what's been happening in research, how has research been conducted, how was teaching and learning being conducted. And we also, in this study per se, we went to conduct a research where we went to both academics, 5 academics. We interviewed 5 academics, and we also sent a survey question to to our doctors, to our students, to our academics, to find out if they were happy about using the online learning, if what are the challenges they met using the the platforms. And well, you can see from the chart that majority were happy with using online. And on the as on the pie chart, you can see 65% of our respondents said yes, online learning is the best alternative to face-to-face, though 34% still say face-to-face interaction is the way to go. So mostly, if looking at our respondents, our respondent maintained that online face-to-face can never be replaced by our sources, but though right now they have no choice but to use the alternative. They're going on MS Teams to conduct their conferences. Their seminars are still conducted using online platforms. And but meeting for coffee and tea and looking at the smiles of others, looking at faces of others during the research, and interacting, during the when it's tea breaks, when it's and there's also lunch. It used to be very nice for them to meet and converse, and mingle. But after the online conference, you hardly mingle. You can only ask someone to stay behind for a conversation if it is required. But mostly things are conducted online. Even teaching and learning is now online using the Blackboard Collaborate, as has been said. Now our research question, as it has been placed, our aim is to assess the effects, examine how higher education institutions responded and adjusted to challenges, and identify strategies, best practices, and also examine how higher education institutions responded and adjusted to the challenges posed by the pandemic, and evaluate different research methodologies used during the pandemic. We want to know how effective the methods are per se. Okay. And as I've explained the methodology earlier, we used a thematic descriptive analysis for the our qualitative research, and we also and the data was also analyzed from our survey with using the charts, as you see the charts. And yes, and we've seen and we compared, and we've seen how best other things are done. So the primary objective here was to check how higher education has transformed during the COVID-19, and the mixed method, like I've explained, have been used, and the data was collected from both students and academics at the university. And in conclusion, we find that our academic support department provided support and training to both students, to academics, to our researchers during transitioning to the online learning and online interaction at the university. And though challenges were there and were identified, and mainly this inequality between the haves and the have-nots has always been there, and it will remain there. Because now, check, if you look at our position now from where we come from COVID-19, the abruption caused the government to stand and intervene out of something that has been planned and budgeted for. The government had to now fund for devices, fund for the data the student was supposed to get. But there was still the discrepancy, because we had students who were funded by the NFSAS and students who were not funded by the NFSAS, meaning the government only would say they were only funding and providing devices for those who were, but the interim had to also take charge to say, now what about the students who are not funded? And means had to be people, the philanthropists had to intervene and also provide for those who could not afford to really get the devices. Like as I mentioned, students remotely could not really cope as they would cope in their residences, because in our remote areas, some of the students are coming from places where there's no infrastructure at all, no electricity at home, no network. So it was a hassle. It's been a hassle. It's been a challenge. and the saying that no student should be left behind, it was just a saying because there were students who were really being left behind. So the institution had to adjust to all this. And there were guidelines for remote and hybrid being developed, because now moving from face to face to online, some would say it was just a way of doing what we would do on face to face and just put it online. But some are saying we're maintaining the fact that we still have to be what instructional designers, because you cannot just put information on the platform the way we would put it when we're in the classroom, and you cannot just teach the way you are in the classroom. You have to, there must be some best practices being found. So the expert had to come and provide some guideline on how this can be done. And our respondents suggested some soft skills such as time management, such as study skills, such as how to provide tips to students how to study, those soft skills that are needed for a student, to be there out there and succeed in start learning remotely. Because now we were studying from lectures, and we were guided, we were monitored nicely in the classroom. Now we have to be, the students has to be on their own, and even mentors, even in research supervisors now cannot no longer meet, and we, especially in research now, with collaboration you would meet people and you'd be able to interact and collaborate in your research endeavors. But now meeting here with remote working, being locked down, being isolated, it was not as easy. Accessing the laboratories, in some instances, the restriction wouldn't allow one to get into a lab and continue conducting researches. Those were main challenges. So a recommendation had to be done, because now it's still been said that even up to today, we still need to not we don't really need to interact the way we used to, though we see that the restrictions are no longer really in place. But the institution now has now adopted the hybrid model, whereby both face to face and online is being used. So there have been some suggestion and recommendation there. So now these findings will contribute to the existing body of knowledge and provide practical guidance for higher education institution, and navigate the future of the challenges and the transformation in higher education. I want to take this opportunity to thank the audience and to thank Mr. Havenga and ChatGPT and everything else. And thank I would like to take this opportunity also to thank the team, everyone who participated and in making this a success. Thank you very much.